They say every great love story has a hero and a heartbeat. For Jamie Dornan, the hero may be the world's image of him, charming, successful, endlessly photographed, but the heartbeat has always been Amelia Warner. She's the woman who rarely speaks publicly, who avoids the spotlight that adores her husband. Yet, when she does speak, her words carry the kind of weight that silence gives birth to, gentle, deliberate, and filled with meaning. What does it mean to love someone who lives under the world's gaze? Amelia once mused softly during a rare interview. You learn to love them twice, once for who they are, and again for who the world thinks they are. It was a sentence that lingered with everyone who heard it, elegant, honest, and tinged with something beautifully sad. Before Amelia Warner became Mrs. Dornan, she was an artist in her own right, a singer, songwriter, an actress with her own quiet following. Her music, often melancholic and cinematic, hinted at a soul more comfortable with introspection than fame. She wasn't the kind of woman who needed to be seen to exist. She was content creating, feeling, and living at her own pace. Then Jamie came along, the Northern Irish actor whose face the world couldn't stop watching. Their meeting was nothing dramatic or staged. No grand Hollywood moment, no flashes of paparazzi. Just two people at the right time, when fame hadn't yet swallowed them whole. When 50 Shades of Grey hit theaters years later, everything changed. Jamie's name was suddenly everywhere. The internet dissected every frame, every interview, every interaction he had with his co-star. And through it all, Amelia stayed silent, a silence not of absence, but of grace. Friends say she understood the storm before it hit. She didn't try to control it, didn't try to outshine it. She simply stayed steady, anchoring Jamie to a sense of normalcy he desperately needed. While the world screamed his name, Amelia was at home in London, raising their daughters, writing music, and keeping life simple. It wasn't easy. The world around them was hungry for cracks, any sign of weakness, jealousy, or drama. But none came, because Amelia's strength was in her stillness. Her love didn't fight for attention, it simply existed, quietly powerful. In one interview years later, Jamie admitted that fame had nearly overwhelmed him during those early years. You go from being a working actor to being something else, he said. It's strange, you lose parts of yourself. Then he paused, and smiled. But Amelia keeps me real. She reminds me of what actually matters. That sentence, for those who truly listened, said everything. Amelia's love was not a fairy tale, it was endurance. It was the soft kind of courage that doesn't make headlines. She lived with the noise of rumors, the constant speculation, the photos, the narratives, all without losing her grace. Every time she stepped out beside Jamie, she did so with the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly who she is. Behind that composure, though, were years of small sacrifices. Nights waiting for flights to land, birthdays spent apart, the unspoken ache of being married to a man the world claimed to own. Yet she never complained, never broke her silence to defend herself, never needed validation. Because she knew love wasn't a performance. People close to the couple describe Amelia as the calm in Jamie's chaos. She gives him space to be everything the world expects, while still being the man who reads bedtime stories and makes pancakes on Sundays. And Jamie, in turn, never misses a chance to praise her in the simplest of ways, not with grand gestures, but with presence. Over the years, Amelia's perspective on love has evolved, but her core belief remains unchanged. Love doesn't have to be loud to be strong, she once said. Sometimes, silence protects it. That's the kind of love most people overlook. The kind that doesn't trend, doesn't shout, doesn't need to prove anything. Yet, it's the kind that endures long after the lights fade and the noise dies down. And perhaps that's what makes Amelia Warner's story so magnetic, not because she's Jamie Dornan's wife, but because she's chosen a different kind of fame, the quiet legacy of devotion. Behind the glamour, behind the applause, behind every red carpet moment, there's always that single glance between them. It's small, fleeting, and yet it tells the whole story. A love that doesn't need to be seen to be real. In a recent conversation, Amelia Warner sat across from a journalist who asked the question no one had ever dared to before. What keeps love alive in the middle of fame? She smiled, that calm, knowing smile that had become her signature, and took a long pause before answering. I think it's knowing when not to speak, she finally said. Sometimes, love doesn't need a defense. It just needs trust. That line rippled through every corner of the internet. It wasn't a soundbite meant to go viral. It was a glimpse into the quiet foundation of a marriage that had survived everything: fame, distance, scrutiny, and the constant glare of curiosity. For Amelia, silence had never been weakness. It was strength. Through the years, as headlines twisted stories and strangers formed opinions, she had chosen peace over proof. She never corrected rumors, never retaliated, never explained. Her silence wasn't surrender, it was power. She had learned that not everything sacred can survive noise. Some things need stillness to grow. Jamie, on his side, often spoke about his wife with a tenderness that caught people off guard. In an interview promoting one of his films, he was asked about how he balanced fame with fatherhood. His answer was simple. Because of Amelia, she's my balance. She reminds me who I was before all of this, and who I still am. That sentence captured what millions of fans felt but never saw: the quiet heartbeat behind the actor's public life. For years, Amelia chose to stay out of the Hollywood current. While Jamie traveled for films, premieres, and awards, she stayed rooted, raising their daughters, creating music from home, finding joy in the ordinary. She once said that she didn't see herself as supporting Jamie's career. We support each other, she clarified. It's not about standing behind him. It's about standing with him. That distinction mattered. Because while the world saw her as the silent partner, those close to the couple described her as the one who holds everything together. The glue, the calm, the home. Her world wasn't built on the glamour of red carpets. It was made of bedtime stories, school runs, and piano melodies echoing softly through the house. Still, fame has its shadows. Amelia has spoken candidly, in her careful, poetic way, about how hard it can be to love someone constantly watched by the world. It takes trust, she said. Real trust. You have to believe in the person beyond what people say about them. There were years when tabloids tried to turn her silence into distance. They painted her calm as coldness, her privacy as absence. Yet every time she appeared beside Jamie, their hands brushing, their eyes locking, it erased every rumor without a single word spoken. Because what the world forgets is that love isn't measured by how loudly you declare it, but by how long you keep choosing it. Her silent love, as fans now call it, isn't about secrecy. It's about strength. It's about the courage to stay still when everything around you is moving too fast. Amelia once described her relationship with Jamie as our own little country. No one else lives there, she explained. It's just ours, messy, beautiful, and quiet. And in that quiet, they've built something unshakable. When Jamie speaks about his family, his entire demeanor softens. He's proud, not of fame, not of success, but of normalcy. Of being a husband who gets to come home and be dad. In a world obsessed with exposure, the Dornans have built a fortress of simplicity. That's what makes Amelia's recent openness so meaningful. It isn't gossip. It isn't confession. It's gratitude, a glimpse of her heart. She doesn't speak often, but when she does, it's always to celebrate love, never to defend it. Toward the end of that same interview, she shared something that stayed with everyone who listened. I don't believe love is about grand gestures. It's in the small things. The quiet moments. The spaces between the noise. Those words lingered like a melody, the kind only Amelia could write. Perhaps that's what makes her story so quietly extraordinary. She doesn't need headlines to prove devotion. She doesn't need the world to understand. She just loves, consistently, fiercely, silently. And maybe that's the kind of love the world needs more of. Not the one that burns bright and fades, but the one that hums softly through the years. The one that survives fame, time, and distance. The kind that whispers, even when the world shouts. The kind that endures, not because it's perfect, but because it's real.